Hello and welcome to NFL Nexus, your spot for the real stories shaping the league. We are just days away from Super Bowl elects. This is it, the absolute peak of the mountain, the game that every single team fights all year long just to get a chance to play in. But right as the New England Patriots are locking in their game plan, this shadow of uncertainty just got cast over everything. Their star quarterback, the guy who's been the engine of their offense all season, a player on the verge of making history, Drake Maye, he just suddenly, out of nowhere, popped up on the injury report. And it's not just any injury. It's a shoulder issue on his throwing arm. It is the absolute worst kind of late-breaking news, the kind that sends a shockwave through an entire fan base, that can move betting lines, and yeah, it has the potential to completely change the landscape of the biggest game of the year.
Okay, let's just dive right into this, because this is the question on literally every football fan's mind right now. A starting quarterback with a throwing shoulder issue just days before the Super Bowl. I mean, it sounds like a total nightmare scenario, right? The kind of thing a rival fan would dream up. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what is going on here. We're going to look at the official reports, we're going to hear directly from Drake Maye and his coach, we'll analyze what might have caused this, and sift through every clue we can find, including what the pros in Vegas are thinking, to figure out just how serious this is. As the Pats get ready to take on a really tough Seattle Seahawks team. We're going to get to the bottom of it. And hey, while we're getting into it, if this is the kind of deep dive you enjoy, make sure you hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus, give this explainer a like, and definitely drop a comment below with what you first thought when you heard this news. We really want to hear from you.
So this right here, this is where it all began. This is the document that kicked off the entire firestorm. On Wednesday, the very first official practice report of Super Bowl week drops, and bam, there it is, in black and white for the whole world to see, Drake Maye, shoulder, limited participant. Now, it's really, really important to understand what an estimated report actually means, especially here. The Patriots didn't have a full practice that day. It was more of a walkthrough, a lighter session. But the league has rules. The team is required to project what a player's participation would have been if they'd actually had a full-speed practice. So while he wasn't physically held back on the field that day, this is the team officially on the record acknowledging that something's not 100%. For a guy who's been a rock all season long, to see his name pop up here just days before the biggest game of his entire life, well, that's what sparked the immediate panic and turned what should be a normal pre-Super Bowl week into a total frenzy. So as you can probably guess, the second that report went public, the media was all over it. I mean, every sports show, every podcast, every single reporter was asking the exact same question. Is the Patriots' star quarterback hurt? And the team couldn't just ignore it. They had to say something. So let's take a look at the official response from the two most important people in this whole drama, the quarterback himself, Drake Maye, and his famously stoic head coach, Mike Vrabel. Their words, and maybe just as important, their tone, are our next big clue as we try to figure out what's really going on with that shoulder. So when he got his chance to talk to that massive sea of reporters at Super Bowl Media Day on Thursday, Drake Maye just walked right up and met the issue head on. Look at how direct he is here. He says, "I'm feeling good." He doesn't just say it once. He repeats it, feeling good. There's no hesitation, no "we'll see how it goes," none of that typical coach speak. He immediately pivots from the injury talk to the pure excitement of the moment, saying, "This is the game you dream of playing in." I mean, this is straight out of the quarterback leadership playbook. He knows every word he says carries a ton of weight. He's projecting nothing but confidence, not just for the media, but for his teammates back in that locker room and for the millions of fans who are hanging on his every word. He is actively trying to put out the fire that the injury report started, basically framing it as a non-issue and pulling the focus back to where he wants it, on winning the game. And right there with him, his head coach, Mike Vrabel, was singing the exact same tune. When a reporter asked him point blank about his level of concern for Maye's shoulder, his response was just incredibly blunt. Not much. I mean, that is a classic Mike Vrabel answer. It's short, it's dismissive, and it's all about the job at hand. Some coaches might give you a little more detail, but Vrabel's style has always been to give away absolutely nothing. He follows it up by saying his only concern is preparing the team. He's essentially telling the world, look, this is not a distraction. We are not wasting a single second worrying about this. We are full speed ahead, business as usual. So between Maye's confidence and Vrabel's blunt dismissal, the Patriots' official message couldn't be clearer. Move along, nothing to see here. So this kind of leaves us with two conflicting stories, doesn't it? In one hand, you've got this official league document, an injury report that says, hey, there's a problem with the quarterback's throwing shoulder. And in the other hand, you've got the player and the coach both standing up in public and saying everything is totally fine. So what's the real story? To figure that out, we have to go beyond just the press conferences and start looking at the actual evidence. Where did this soreness even come from? And what are the other real, tangible signs telling us about how bad it really is? Okay, so this brings us to two pretty different ideas about where this all started. The first theory, it's a specific moment, something that people found by going back and rewatching the game tape. In the AFC Championship game against Denver, they found it. A 13-yard scramble in the third quarter, where Maye takes off, he dives for the first down, and he lands hard, right on that throwing shoulder. You can see it, and it's a very plausible cause. But then you have theory number two, which actually came from Maye himself when he was talking to the media. He kind of suggested this isn't from one big hit, but more from the cumulative effect of a long, brutal season. He called it the buildup of throwing almost 30 weeks straight if you count preseason and everything. Now that paints a totally different picture. Not a sudden injury, but just general wear and tear on a young quarterback's arm at the very, very end of a long year. And honestly, given how the team is downplaying it, that second theory feels a little more likely, doesn't it? So, despite all the alarm bells that went off after that Wednesday report, pretty much all the evidence we've seen since then has been overwhelmingly positive. Let's just tick through the key points here. First, and this is the big one, he actually threw the ball at practice on Thursday. That's huge. Action speaks so much louder than words, and just the sight of him out there slinging it is the best possible sign you could ask for. Second, he told the media, straight up, that he doesn't expect to be limited in the Super Bowl at all. That's a powerful statement. And third, and this one might be the most telling clue of them all, the betting line in Las Vegas hasn't moved. Not one bit. Let's actually dig into that last point a little deeper because it's a really fascinating part of this whole story. Let's talk about the money. Because the odds makers in Vegas, they're not in the business of fan hype or wishful thinking. They are in the business of cold, hard information and probability. The line for this game had the Seahawks favored by 4.5 points, and that was set long before this injury news ever came out. And in the days since the news broke, it has not moved. Not an inch, not a half point, nothing. You have to understand what that means. If the people whose jobs and fortunes depend on knowing the real story, I'm talking about the insiders, the professional bettors, the people with information we can only dream of, if they truly believed Drake Maye's shoulder was a serious problem that could affect his performance, that line would have swung, and swung hard, towards Seattle. The fact that it is holding steady is this huge silent vote of confidence that this injury is exactly what the Patriots say it is, not a major factor. So, okay, we've pretty much established he's going to play, and the injury is probably minor. But then, why did this story just blow up? Why does the health of one 23-year-old's shoulder become the biggest story in the entire sports world for 48 hours? Well, to get that, you have to look at the absolutely historic, just jaw-dropping season that this kid has put together. This isn't just about one game. It's about the culmination of a year so dominant that it has him right in the middle of the MVP conversation. Let's start with the only number that really matters for a quarterback: wins. In the 20 games that Drake Maye has started the season, all the way from week 1 through the playoffs, the New England Patriots have won 17 of them, a 17-3 record. That is just incredible in the modern NFL, a league that's literally designed for every team to be about equal. It proves he's more than just a talented kid with a cannon for an arm. He's a true leader who makes the entire team around him better. Even Coach Vrabel said it. He's a big part of why we're here, obviously, and that's an understatement. This number, 17-3, it proves it. He is the heart and soul of this team's success. But beyond just the winning, his personal performance has been completely off the charts. He completed 72% of his passes this season. That number was the best in the entire National Football League. Just let that sink in for a second. Out of every 10 passes he threw, more than 7 of them were caught. That kind of consistency is just astounding. This stat tells you everything about his pinpoint accuracy, his smart decision-making, his poise in the pocket, and the incredible chemistry he's built with his receivers. In today's game where elite quarterback play is everything, being the single most accurate passer in the whole league, that's a remarkable achievement, especially for a guy in just his second year. And look, if his completion percentage shows you his surgical accuracy, then his passer rating, well, that shows you his overall devastating effectiveness. At 113.5, he also led the NFL in this all-encompassing stat. Now, passer rating is a complicated formula, I know, but it basically measures everything: completion percentage, yards per throw, touchdowns, and interceptions. A rating this high, which is one of the best of the modern era, means he's not just completing little, short, safe passes. It means he's pushing the ball downfield for big plays, he's throwing a ton of touchdowns, and this is key, he is not turning the ball over. He only had 8 interceptions all season to go with his 31 touchdown passes.
It is the complete package of elite MVP caliber quarterbacking.
So, when you put all those numbers together, the wins, the accuracy, the rating, you start to realize this is about way more than just one championship trophy. This is about history. If the Patriots beat the Seahawks in Super Bowl LX, Drake Maye, at just 23 years old, will become the youngest starting quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl and hoist that Lombardi trophy. He would surpass some of the biggest legends in the history of the game. That is the ultimate context for everything we're talking about. That is what is on the line here. An all-time great season, a dominant run through the playoffs, and a chance to carve his name into the NFL record books forever. That is why the health of his right shoulder is the biggest story in sports right now.
Okay, so we've walked through this whole thing from the start. We saw that initial, pretty concerning injury report that got everyone nervous. We heard the confident, unified message from both Maye and his coach. We've looked at the evidence from what might have caused the soreness to that all-important steady betting line in Vegas. And now we fully understand the truly historic stakes of this game. So after all of that, what's the big takeaway? What's the final word here?
When you put all the pieces together, every single sign we have points to Drake Maye being out there, under center, and ready to go for the New England Patriots in Super Bowl LX. The injury really does seem to be minor wear and tear. You know, the kind of soreness that, as Coach Vrabel mentioned, pretty much every single player in that locker room is dealing with right now after 20-plus games. But, and this is the big but that's just going to hang in the air until kickoff, the Super Bowl is a completely different animal. It's not just another game. The pressure, the speed, the intensity, the sheer violence, it is the ultimate test for your body and your mind. A minor ache that you can easily play through in October can feel a whole lot worse under the brightest lights on the biggest stage in all of sports.
And so we're left with this one final lingering question. He says he feels good, his coach says he's not concerned, the Vegas odds makers seem confident, all logic points to him being fine. But will that shoulder really hold up through 4 quarters of the most intense, violent, and pressure-packed football game of his entire life? We have every reason to believe it will, but we just won't know for absolute certain until that ball is kicked off on February 8th. The entire world is going to be watching that throwing arm to see if this incredible young quarterback can withstand the pressure, shrug off the soreness, and complete one of the greatest seasons in NFL history. Before we go, hey, if you're looking for something fun for the football fans in your life, we'd really appreciate your support. You can help our channel by checking out our NFL-themed coloring books. They're perfect for kids, grandkids, and even adults. You can find them using the link in the description or by scanning the QR code right here on the screen. Thank you so much for joining us here on NFL Nexus. Don't forget to subscribe, like this explainer, and drop a comment below with your prediction for the big game. We'll see you next time.